Hi, I'm Trish. Welcome to the Gig House Kitchen. Today we're going to make one of my all-time favourite desserts, pineapple upside down pudding. So, let's get down to it. Now before we start, we need to light the oven. So if you have an electric oven, you need to put it on 160 degrees centigrade. And if you have a gas oven, you need to put it on gas mark 5. So pineapple upside down pudding is a very easy dessert to make, and you make it in 2 stages. Now the first stage is preparing the tin and the toppings. Here I have a Victoria sandwich cake tin, which is 8 inches or 20 centimetres, and I have lined it with some greaseproof paper and greased it well. If you want to see how I've done that, you can look up our Victoria sandwich cake video. Now once the tin is lined, we're going to put in one of our 3 topping ingredients, which is golden syrup. Now I have here about 2 tablespoons full of golden syrup, which is about 3 teaspoons. I've poured it in already. There's lots of different ways of getting golden syrup out of the tin. My biggest tip is just to warm it first and use a hot spoon, or buy a squeezy bottle. That works marvellously. Anyway, it's in the bottom of the tin. You don't have to spread it out because it's liquidy, and obviously when it heats it will move to where it needs to go. So I've just put it in the base, as you can see. Now the next ingredient I've got is my pineapple. This is a fantastic specimen, as you can see. So I'm going to chop the top off it. You can use a can, but I always think it's nice to use a fresh pineapple. So the problem with pineapple is you never know what it's going to be like till you cut it. This one doesn't look too bad, so I'm going to go for it. Now I've cut the top and the bottom off, and now I'm going to cut down the sides, taking care not to take too much of the pineapple off, but you don't want any of the black bits of the skin on there. Now this is a medium-sized pineapple. Obviously if you use a small pineapple you'd probably need 1.5, or a large pineapple you'd need half. So I'm just going to cut it, cut the black bits off it, just trim it up to make it look nice. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is to slice my pineapple. Now I'm going to cut 4 slices because this is 4 portions, about ½ inch. So I have a little bit left over, and then put them down. And you might have noticed that they've got the core in still. So I'm going to get a little cutter and just cut out the core. Now obviously they're not as round as you get from a tin, but I think that sort of looks nice and it shows that you're using fresh pineapple. If you don't want to go through all this faff, obviously you can just buy a small can of pineapple, which is 4 slices, and use those instead. So I'm just going to trim them up a little bit, and then I'm going to put them into the tin. I'll put that away because I can eat that later. And here we have the pineapple in the tin. So what I'm going to do now is put in some glacé cherries to add a bit of colour. Now some people don't really like glacé cherries. I absolutely love them. You don't have to put them in, but your pineapple upside down pudding won't look very nice. So I always think put them in and it might sound like a waste. But you don't have to eat them, you can just put them to the side of your plate. Anyway, traditionally you have 1 in the centre of each pineapple. Some people are a bit mean and they cut their cherries in half. I don't know why you would do that, but there you go. I always think more cherries are better, so I'm going to put some more in between the pineapple as well, so it looks really pretty. You can get different coloured cherries, you can get green ones and all sorts to make them look really nice, but I've just got these nice red ones. There we go. So that's the tin ready. So what I'm going to do now is put this aside, and I'm going to make the cake. So now we're ready to make the cake part of the pineapple upside down pudding, which is the second stage. I have here 2 large eggs, and I've weighed them and they're 128 grams. So what I've done is weigh 128 grams of self-raising flour, caster sugar, soft tub margarine, which is going to make up the cake. So now I'm going to put all the ingredients in a bowl. It's an all-in-one mixture. So I'm going to start off with the flour and sieve it in. I'm going to put in the sugar, the butter, and before I put in my 2 eggs, I have another ingredient here which I haven't told you about yet. I've got here about 30 grams of cream coconut, which I've just cut up with a knife. And now I'm going to put them into the mixture. Now it looks a bit lumpy, but it melts, goes into one. Now it's time to put in the eggs. So here we are, the 2 eggs. Now I have everything in my bowl. I'm going to set up my mixer and show you how to finish the cake part. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I've got everything set up ready to mix the cake part of my pineapple upside-down pudding. I have here my electric mixer. If you don't have an electric mixer, you could just use a wooden spoon, but I find that the electric mixer, if you do have one, works really well because it makes the mixture really nice and soft and light. So I'm just going to start the mixer, so it's going to be a little bit noisy, and give it a jolly good mixing. Now this will probably take about a minute. Right, that's taken about a minute. And as you can see, the mixture is lovely and soft and creamy. So I'm just going to start the mixer again and get rid of anything on the blades. And then we're ready to put it into the tin. I'm now going to put the cake mixture on top of the topping. So just literally spoon it out. Take care not to get any on the actual tin, because that sort of spoils the look of it and obviously more washing up. So I'm going to just scrape it out. Now a 2 egg mix is just enough to fill the tin. It will rise, but hopefully not out of the tin. Make sure it's nice and even so it sits evenly on the plate when you turn it out. And that's it. I'm going to put this now into my oven for about 35 minutes and I will see you in a little while. So the pineapple upside down cake is now ready. It was in the oven about 35 minutes. I've checked to make sure the cake part is cooked by putting in a skewer, and it's come out completely clean. And I have left it to stand for about 10 minutes so the tin isn't red hot to touch, and also the cake will come out easier. What I'm going to do now is get a palette knife and very carefully cut around the cake. There you go, it's nice and loose. Now I'm going to take my plate, put the tin in the middle of the plate and literally turn it over and give it a tap. Alright, this is the real moment of truth. There we go. Whoa! Now sometimes the greaseproof paper sticks to it, but it hasn't. It's come out cleanly, and the greaseproof paper you can see is still in the tin. Obviously, if the greaseproof paper is still on there, you will need to take it off. Otherwise your knife won't go through and somebody will be eating greaseproof paper. Right, I'm just going to clean this up slightly. So there we have it, delicious pineapple upside down pudding, ready to eat with ice cream or custard or some single cream. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe. See you next time in the Gig House Kitchen. Bye!